audience. So it's just, okay, we are live. Greetings, greetings, family. Welcome, welcome to the Sister Shanice Show platform. Yes, it's that time of day again. It is Ujama Day. It is Wednesday. And we are absolutely honored and delighted, as you can see, to have our very own King, Joshua Maponga, in the house. Greetings, King. How are you?
I am in good working condition and right here in Zimbabwe, and all is well. Greetings to you and all your listeners around the world.
Thank you so, so much. You are in the great kingdom of Zimbabwe. I was saying to you just behind stage that earlier today on my radio show, in the Mama University segment of my show, the feature today was the great kingdom of Zimbabwe and the region that is, you know, amongst the oldest parts of the world. We were talking about the stones, we were talking about the science and the technology of our ancients. It was just absolutely phenomenal. That region is steep, deep in history, and most of which has just been wiped off the face of the earth. And so we are honored, King, to be able to have you from that part of the world, you know, on this platform today.
And until we as Africans, both on mainland and in diaspora, begin to speak about our history with full ownership of that history, it will constantly be distorted by the perverted colonialists. I mean, the other day I was listening and I could imagine that Europeans are doubting that Africans built the pyramids of Giza. Europeans doubt that the pyramids of Sudan were built by Africans. They doubt that the great Zimbabwe kingdom was built by Zimbabweans. I mean, how arrogant can you be that you tell us that the Chinese and the Phoenicians or the aliens built Giza, the aliens built Sudan, the aliens built Benin, the aliens built Zimbabwe? I mean, it just shows without doubt that the European Caucasian Neanderthal, in his mind, he cannot even begin to accept that the African is more civilized historically in a much more advanced way than they are. So constantly we are faced with these insults. I should call them insults of the highest order, that they would think that Black people can never have such an advanced form of technology, architecture, medicine, cosmological understanding, mineralogy, which is superior to their own. And we need to start taking this cat out of the bag and rewrite our own history.
Absolutely, absolutely, King. If the truth be told, you know, in today's show, we were talking about some of the gold mines in the southern region of Africa, which is over 200,000 years old. Our people were mining gold, mining iron, you know, and refining it and making a whole range of products with it over, you know, hundreds of thousands of years ago. And if the truth be told, these people that a lot of our people are idolizing today came out the caves about 6,000 years ago. And when they came out of the caves, they had no language, they had no culture, they had no knowledge of anything at all. You know, they came out on all fours, but they are just so devious and cunning as a people. And with their genocidal maniac ways, you know,
they did not even know how to bath.
Exactly. Yes. Even when my parents came to the UK in the 1960s, the people still had to be reminded how to bath. They used to just bathe once a week on a Monday in the kitchen sink, some of them. This is real.
They did not even know how to bath in Europe.
That's
when
right.
we were building cities in Africa. It would be embarrassing to allow people who come with a Bible and a Caucasian narrative, which is 6,000 years old, as you rightfully put it, and then you want to interpret the history of people who have been here for 20, 200,000, 4.5 million year history that is written all over, and by their own standards, in terms of fossilization and carbon dating. They would go on to say, okay, the skeletons of Ethiopia, the skeletons of Kenya, the skeletons of South Africa are 2.5 million years, what million years. And the other group is saying, no, they are, you cannot write an African history from a European narrative because there is a kindergarten. It's yesterday. We are thousands of years much older, and we cannot allow a Eurocentric history to begin to interpret the world and ethnographical hegemony and science and knowledge from such an immature interpretation, which has no understanding either of nature, of science, of history, of medicine, and holistic spiritual living, which the European is trying to tell us because they have written theirs in books and ours is an oral tradition. And now through education, oral tradition is inferior to formal quote unquote education. And I think some of us who have now woken up to this knowledge would get offended that a white man would want to come to Africa and teach me as an African my history and tell me my own background and my genesis, as if they know anything about themselves to start with. So stop talking about black people. Just talk about yourselves. Tell us what you were doing in the mountains of the Caucasus. And tell us how old is your history. Give us your oldest bones from your own mountains. And talk about yourselves. Stop coming to Africa and tell us that Cleopatra was a white woman. Cleopatra was and Pharaoh is a white man. The Hyksos who built the pyramids, they should be white. And then you play into the movie industry and you interpret all these things. You make yourselves as white. Tarzan was a white man, a white child who was trapped in the forests of Africa. Man, for crying out loud, hell no. Hell no. Hell no, you can come to Africa and bring a white little boy called Tarzan and you put him in the Congo jungle and you say there were white people in Africa and a white child was trapped by a gorilla and gorillas are supposed to be Africans. Who does that? Who does that? Who does that?
Yeah.
How do I come into your house, Shanice? How do I come into your house and then I tell you who you are?
Imagine. Yeah, and that's the irony, isn't it, of the movie industry.
It's not even irony. You're sanitizing it. It's not irony. This is an insult. This is arrogance. This is abuse. This is academic dishonesty. This is intellectual abuse. It goes against the grain even of education itself, because education is all about facts and knowledge and information. And you come around in the academic space and you insult the very fundamentals of what you call education. If education is about facts, then what is the fact about Africa?
Right. Yes.
As contrasted to the arrogance of your bigotry.
You know, the reality is, isn't it, to some extent, well, they can't face up to the truth of the greatness of Africa, you know, and the sad thing is that the vast majority.
I bet you a white man cannot even spell the word truth. They can't even spell it.
That's true. The extent of the ignorance here. and no understanding or overstanding of the word truth either. Looks as though our king may have frozen just for a little while in the area that you're going through. Okay, you're back with us now. I think you froze for a little while.
I'm saying a white man cannot even spell the word truth. They can't spell it.
And certainly have no understanding of the word or the meaning of it either. Absolutely none. We certainly know that. I was born and brought up in the UK, miseducated and indoctrinated in the UK, having to relearn my history all over again. Along with a whole generation of us in the UK, and then we grow to understand it wasn't just the miseducation that they gave us in the UK. They even took their Eurocentric education to the continent of Africa and miseducated generations after generations of Africans. You see, and so that's, you know, how they've been able to fool most of us for all of this time, you know, wiped out through genocide, the nations, the generations of elders who had the knowledge, who had, you know, that generational knowledge that had been passed down, wiped, you know, most of those people out, and then schooled the children in their missionaries and gave us a new history, told us, you know, that we were born in sin and iniquity, told us that we were the children of Ham and we were cursed, told us, you know, that it's better to be poor than to seek the kingdom of heaven rather than, you know, seek the riches on our land. I mean, we have been just so miseducated, but, you know, we rise up ones like yourself, King Maponga, who's doing the works out there to enlighten our people and us as a people. We honor you. So family, as you come through the door, please do let us know that you're in the house. You can post your messages in the chat to King Maponga. We are delighted to have him in the house today, and you know, really looking forward to everything that we hear and learn from this great man. Let me just tell you briefly who he is, or would you? Yeah, well, I'll say the little bit that I have here first. The great man, family, that we are privileged to have in the house, Joshua Maponga III, is a Zimbabwean motivational speaker, philosopher, leader, musician, and social entrepreneur, an internationally acclaimed, unparalleled Pan-Africanist, born in the Masvinga province of Zimbabwe, and is popularly known as a creative powerhouse. Holds a degree in philosophy, BA theology, and personal ministries from Andrews University in Michigan, United States. That doesn't really even begin to tell us about the magnitude of this great man that we have in the house. King Maponga, please do welcome the audience and just share with us a little something about yourself before we go into the, you know, as we go into the show today.
It's not easy. It's not easy for me to introduce myself. I would rather just be remembered as a reformer, someone who was helping Africans to remember themselves, to realign themselves. I put no value in the educational qualifications that I could have acquired. What I would rather put value on is the experience that I've gathered with my various forms of interactions in various continents, interacting with a variety of people, and the ancestors having been graceful and very patient in opening doors of knowledge and understanding to assist the young modern to their roots. Yes, it's true. I come from the royal house with everything that it means, and through the colonial system, we have been reduced to these Mr. Mapongas, to these PhD Mapongas, to these doctors, and these titles have neither value in terms of money or culture or anything. They are just pieces of paper which we cannot even leave, which we cannot even leave for our children as an inheritance. And we're supposed to glory ourselves in being information and education does not materialize itself into the value of who we truly are. So yes. I'm on a call, Chief. I'm on a call. I'll call you back. I'm on a call. I'm on a conference call, please.
I'm not sure what
so
happened.
Yes, I'm an artist. I'd rather be remembered as an artist. I play about 10, 15 music instruments. I'd rather be remembered as an artist. I play 10, 15 instruments. I'd rather be remembered as a painter. I've done 400 or 500 paintings. I'd rather be remembered as an author. I've written 10, 15 books. I'd rather be remembered as a fashion enthusiast. I've created a wide variety of clothing, shoes, hats, all my dressing. I'd rather be remembered as a cultural activist, but I would not want to put any value into these academic echelons, which translate to nothing.
We hear that, yes. And, this is a society that we live in today. But back in the days, all of what you said there in terms of, the skills that you have and you're able to manifest, that's what we treasured back then, wasn't it? It wasn't pieces of paper that you get in a university. It was the family lineage, the skills of the families that were the blacksmiths, the families that did the sculpturing, the family, skills and talents that we had to do the agriculture. We really do, I agree, need to redefine education, redefine who we are, redefine our magnificence. And I think in that way.
How can you call yourself? How can you call it? Yet you can't even feed yourself. You can't even feed yourself, for crying out loud. So how educated are you? You can't even dress yourself. How educated are you? You can't even tell whether next year we'll have rain or we'll have a drought. How educated are you when you can't even identify a tree that is next to you that can heal your disease? How educated are you when you can't even recognize your cousin and your brother's bloodlines? And then you make your daughter and son to marry your own cousin and sister because you don't know your history. How educated are you when you can't even help your women to give birth and deliver in a natural way? How educated are you when you can't even identify whether they are male or female? How educated are you?
Some really important questions there. And when you pose those questions and we begin to think of the answers, it makes us realize the extent to which, what we call education, isn't education at all. It's just preparing us to be, almost insignificant within a society that we find ourselves in. So we do need a complete new paradigm, a complete new African paradigm where, we have the sort of knowledge that you was talking about. I remember when I was in Zimbabwe and I was driving along with someone and we stopped just to look at the stars because it was as dark as it is now where you are, King Maponga. And we got out the car, we just looked up in the sky and we could see thousands of stars. And he said, it looks as though we might have, did he say rain tomorrow? I said, how do you know that? He said, I could tell from the stars. He was able to read the stars. Wow, what's cool in the Western world could teach you that. In fact, today we was learning and talking about our builders of ancient times that used to build their kingdoms in alignment with the in alignment with the 30-degree ley lines that goes around the world. So the stone circles and all the great kingdom of Zimbabwe, all the way down to the pyramid of Giza, all are built in alignment because our people were able to tap into the power source that goes around the meridian. That's it, built in alignment with the meridian line that goes around the world, to tap into that power out there in the outerverse. And even your very own scientists are, you know, the man who built the helicopter, the car, and the TV that could run off of radio waves or some invisible power sources. You know, he was tapping into the knowledge of the ancients. I mean, wow, how great is that?
And when you go through that, then you will understand that what the colonialists would call education is a distortion of true knowledge, because everything and anything that they did not have, and we must not blame them too much also, because we are expecting people who did not know what was happening to tell us what is happening. I mean, a simple example: you get into the most remote place in Pacific, and you want to tell someone who has never seen a TV in their life, and then you want to tell them what is a TV. So you start off by saying, okay, it's a box. All right, good start. And in his mind, when you talk about a box, he's literally thinking of a box. No, it's a box that has electricity. Oh, wow, that's interesting. No, it's a box that has glass in the front, and he is already thinking about a river where he last saw himself and the reflection in the water. Then he said, no, inside the box there, you can see elephants, you can see lions, you can see buildings, before you finish explaining what a TV is like. And when you literally confuse me, say, no, it's a tube. It's a tube that is looking into the glass. No. A person just say, okay, just stop right there. Thank you very much for explaining such a complicated thing. And this is the dilemma that the European education system has. When it finds the pyramids of Giza, you cannot put a knife or a razor blade between the stones. You can't find the tools that you don't know the technology that built the great Zimbabwe. No mortar, no brick, no what. These are stones cut equal sizes, build a city that is still standing to date. And because you cannot understand it, you interpret it like a person who is being told what a TV is like. And by the time you finish explaining a TV, the only thing a person who does not know a TV will just say witchcraft. This is witchcraft, because it can't be that you can put an elephant in a box and you can put a building in a box. Because in all honesty, that kind of a picture cannot fit into the scope of knowledge, which you can tell me it's a tube, a box, a glass, and an elephant, and it can sit on a table. So maybe we need to also to allow them to give us the foolishness which we now call education, because we've given them too much latitude. Yes. Us from their point of ignorance. And unfortunately, even our most educated lecturers and professors amongst us as Black people have not come forward to challenge these hegemonies and these narratives. Say, okay, stop a little bit. We know about aerodynamics. We know about cosmology. We know meteorological issues. We know about geography. We know weather patterns. We can read weather patterns from the behavior of the birds. We can read weather patterns from the movement of the winds. We can read weather patterns from the birds that are in the river. When they plant, when you see during August, September, October, when the birds begin to put their nests in the river, when they put their nests further up the tree, they are telling you already that we were going to have lots of rain this year. When they put their nests lower in the river, you know, it says that we are not going to have lots of rain this year. So by simply studying and understanding where the birds in the river are positioning their nests that year, we can tell in the next 6 months to 8 months what kind of weather patterns we're going to be having. We have this knowledge. We have this knowledge, which is written in nature. And nature is the book that the white man can't read. That's why he comes here to dig for gold, to dig and pollute the rivers and dig and take the gold and go and put in his.
Oh, looks as though King has frozen for a short while. All being well, he'll be back with us very, very soon. Just want to welcome everybody who's in the chat. Yeah, please do drop your welcome messages in the chat. Let us know where in the world you are viewing us from. Our special guest, Joshua King Maponga, he's with us, just frozen for a short while there. I want to rise up, Brother Kwame Aboje in the house. He's rising us all up. I want to rise up Karen in the house as well, saying, greetings, Sister Shanice, guest speaker and attendees. Yes, Kwame's rising up. Baba Maponga Ashe, he's saying. And we've all been well. He will be back with us very shortly. Kwame says, Ashe, Sister Shanice, you are so right. We gave birth to our civilizations such as maths, languages, anthropology, law, and architecture, plus our beautiful minerals such as gold, oils, and cocoa. Yes, we did. Rise up, our king is back with us. You're just on mute at the moment. I was just reading a few of the messages from those in the audience. Rise up, Sister Afrijamo. Rising us up from Ghana. We want to rise up, each and every one of you. Afrijamo said, Tarzan wouldn't have been able to survive the weather and wild animals. That's absolutely right. But in their films, he does, and only in the films. And yeah, drop your messages in the chat. Afrijamo says, we were miseducated in the West, and they are still doing it to our unsuspecting brothers and sisters on the continent. Rise up, S.A. Smith in the house as well. PK Kasirim, rise up. Good to have you in the house as well. Yeah, drop some messages. We've got lots of messages from Brother Kwame Oboje. Enough love to you, my beloved brother, for your support. He says, Ashe, Sister Amma, we foolishly accept the miseducation, and these non-Africans teach us than our own selves. Sadly, you know, Brother Oboje, some people, when we talk, they don't believe us unless they hear it from the white man. You know, it's not the truth. That's a major problem that we have. We have been indoctrinated to worship them, believe them, and think that everything that they say is true when it is not. We've got our great king, Joshua Maponga, in the house. He's been sharing with us his wide range of experiences, and we're already learning so much, you know, from him about nature and what we can learn from nature. And it just goes to show the extent to which, you know, the miseducation is happening in the Western world. Welcome back, King. You're on mute at the moment. Please do take yourself off mute and continue to share with us. Thank you.
As I was saying, that the white man has no relationship with nature. And I'll go a little bit deeper. And I hope that these words will echo and reverberate in the melanated people. That the problem of the Caucasian Neanderthal, his problem is his skin. His skin has been whitened, or his skin has been made pale because of the cold areas that he has lived. And because of the quality of his skin, he is no longer able to download data from the sun, which gives Ubuntu, an African, the ability to collect data from environment and be at one with nature. Hence, an African nature can nurture nature. If I could use the by being an African, you're able to nurture nature because you have a relationship with the trees. Because even our totems are with the trees. You can have a relationship with the birds because your surnames and totems are with the birds. You can have a relationship with the water because your relationship is with the fish. And you can have a relationship with the animals because your surnames and your totems are linked up to this. The conservation and preservative element of African indigenous knowledge systems does not plug you away as to what can you get from an elephant. No, I can get tusks and I can make a piano with ivory. I can get a skin and I can get the foot and make a chair. I can get, no, to us in Africa is not what can you get out of the animal, is how are you related to that animal? How are you related to that animal? What is in it? That is in the elephant, that is in you. Therefore, when you see an elephant, you are not seeing an object that needs to be dehorned of its tusks, that needs its feet to be cut so that you can make your chairs and put them in your pubs and in your library rooms and say, well, I collected this thing in Africa. And the Chinese, when you look at a rhino, you're not looking at a love potion that you can make an aphrodisiac from the horn of a rhino. It's how much are you related to this animal so that you and this animal are one. We preserve nature. And any education that distorts, destroys, abuses, exterminates, kills environment, humanity the weakest link. It makes humanity the parasite. It makes humanity the virus of nature itself. And our civilization, as we speak right now, does not enhance the environment. Our human civilization in the Western construct has become a virus to the very vegetation. Because the first thing, when you get a piece of land as a European and an African who has been skilled by the Europeans, it's when I get a piece of land, what must I do? I need a project. What does a project entail? Cut the trees. Then after that, have an orchard. Then after that, make a garden. Then after that, destroy everything. Plant lots of things. Take the things, go and sell them out there. But did you put your ear on the ground? Did you put your ear on those trees? Did you put your ear on the ants? Did you put your ear with the birds? Did you put your ear with the animals? Did you put your ear to hear that what you're going to be cutting and destroying so that you can make money and be called a commercial farmer who has got 100 million in his account because he has been able to make money from the gold mine that he has dug up and he's got a piece of land. It's my land, it's my land. We cannot develop at the expense of vandalizing land because this is all we have. Through the Western world, Africa must be exploited and explored and exploited. But to us as Africans, Africa is our home. You can't come to my home and you put your toilet in my house. You can't come to my home and you put a cyanide processing plant in my home, which sinks into my crops, which spills into my river, which kills the birds, kills the insects. And then you say Africa is developing. Why? Because they have a good GDP. Based on what? They are able to produce more and they are selling us more. But at the end of the day, you are getting all these things at the expense of what? What are you destroying to call yourself developed? To call yourself financially viable? What have you sacrificed to have a name that you are developed. What is development at the end of the day? If the price of development is the destruction of the very habitat, destroying and killing the mother who has given you these resources, why dig up our gold and go and put it in a warehouse in a storeroom somewhere in Britain, in a storeroom? Then you say Britain has the strongest currency because they have the biggest gold reserve. But what are you doing with that gold? Are you eating it? What are you using it for? No, it's a backup for our currency. But why do you need it in your house? Why not leave it in the ground where it is?
And these are the sorts of questions and these are the sorts of discussions that we would be having in our own African-centered universities if they existed. Because, you know, from what you've just described there, I just felt in my spirit that these people have a war against nature. It's like, you know, I've always believed that the war was against us as a people, but it's against us because, you know, we are at one with nature, because we have been protecting nature wherever we are and have been in the world when we've been in our right mind, that is. So an African in their right mind, you know, you've just showed us right there, is one who is at one with nature, who protects nature, you know, and this is why nature has been able to thrive and survive in Africa. And this is why the animal kingdom, to a large extent, has almost been totally eradicated in the rest of the world, where the Western man has been and where he has conquered. He's now in the process of conquering Africa. And not only are we suffering as a people, as you said, the insect world is suffering, the land suffers, the animal kingdom suffers, the marine life suffers. We're all suffering. All of those of us who rely on the land, who rely on this universe for survival, are suffering because of this species that have come in just about 6,000 years ago and who are a destruction to the world, the animal kingdom, the marine life, the environment, and us all. Wow. You know,
look into the oceans and the amount of plastic, the amount of debt that the Western world is pumping with its civilization into the sea, the amount of sewage that is going into the ocean in the name of developed cities. I mean, try it as your own experiment, Shanice. Go tomorrow morning to Piccadilly Circus, so you can go to Oxford Circus and make your way to the Thames River and collect for yourself 5 liters of water from the Thames River, which is supposed to be a river of clean water that nature is given to Britain. Take that water to the laboratory and tell me that a civilized group of people who call themselves Anglo-Saxons, who call themselves British, the epitome of civilization. You take that river, then you'll know how civilized that city is. If you give that water to your cat or to your dog, it will die. Don't try to drink it yourself. Don't try to drink it yourself. You will not survive. And this is what civilization is. And you want Africa to become another London. You want Zambezi River, Limpopo River, Val River, Sabi River, Congo River. You want them to look like Thames River. Then you are civilized as Africans. We are bringing to you civilizations as Africans because you are backward. But I tell you, Shanice, the baboon and the chimpanzee that is living in the forest has a much healthier homestead than a British that is living in Oxford, Piccadilly, and Soho districts. A monkey in the bush in Africa is in a better habitable space than a human being living in the flats in Soho.
Imagine, yeah, we who are supposedly living, you know, in a civilized way, in a civilized part of the world, you know, it is in fact living in a very polluted, toxic environment that is making many of us very, very unwell and ill, and causing many of us to have a whole range of sicknesses, diseases, and viruses. Imagine. So yeah, absolutely agree with you on that. We do need to rethink everything that this Western world has taught us. We need to get back into our own African mind and not believe the hype that we are less than, that we are ignorant, and that we don't have anything to contribute towards society. Our history, if we only knew our history, if we only knew, you know, the extent of our greatness as our people and the greatness of our ancestors, you know, we would be so much wiser. So let's go back. Let me see what our family is saying in the chat. Rise up, Melissa Sims, who's in the chat. She said, we are academically brilliant, but lack vision, lack insight, scope, and totally socially and historically disconnected from the source and each other. Wow.
I'm still here.
Yes.
I'm still here. I'm just running into the house quickly. Give me a minute. I've arrived, and we will see more lights in a few minutes, and I'll be more visible and looking more handsome.
Wonderful. As if that's possible. Our guest looks so handsome already. We're so grateful that you've arrived safely. We thank our ancestors. Rise up, Brother Kimani is in the house as well. Kwame Aboje Ashe, 100%. Our beautiful African kingdoms that gave birth to our roots, our realities such as Ghana, Sudan, Dahomey, and Timbuktu. Ashe, rise up, Brother Kasiri and PK in the house. Let's scroll down, see if we've got some more messages. Mambai, rise up, greeting us from Austria, Vienna. Great to have you in the house, Mambai. We've got Karen in the house as well. Mondele is in the house. Yenge Pimpakiambote. Sister Shanice says, greetings, brothers and sisters on the chat. Brotherhood regards. That's from our brother Maponga, the Congo leopard, who's in the UKKK, who says, rise up, our Congo leopard in the house. Rise up, Sister Karen in the house as well. She said, the king is spitting out the truth, as he always does. Family, you need to check out his Facebook page, his YouTube channels. In fact, PK, if that's you, Brother Patrick in the house, please do post King Maponga's links as well. And as he said, he's an author of many books. Please do, you know, share the links to his books as well. I know that he's got an amazing compilation of his quotes coming sometime soon in the near future. Really looking forward to that. King, welcome, Black. We can see you clearly. Wonderful to have you, Black, with us. You know, King, I wonder if you are ready to share with us, you know, the invitation that you had to Jamaica, and you know, bring us up to date with what the situation is there. What happened with your visa application? Are you ready to share that with the family?
I think at a more serious level, I don't even want to pick up the inconvenience to the administrators in the Jamaican embassy and government, because we as Africans, both in mainland and in diaspora, we are still under the colonial legislative, legal governance framework. And these laws of movement, the laws of migrations.
Yes, our king has just frozen for a little while. Hopefully, he will be back with us. Yes, as he was saying, you know, and as we know,
it was
here we go.
it was designed that when the colonialist is coming to Africa to collect slaves, they had direct access between the Caribbean, Americas, Brasilica, and Africanos. So the ships were moving straight from Gorée Islands in Senegal, St. Helena in Southern Africa, and all these movements were freely because it was them who were doing it. Post the slavery structures, you will find something very critical happening. It is the prohibition of the Africans in diaspora and the Africans on mainland to connect with each other. I want you to take note of that as a first point of departure. To date, you don't have any direct flight or a ship that is moving between Africa and the Caribbean. It's not allowed. Because once you allow a direct connection between Caribbean and Africa, then it means you're making it easier for the African in the diaspora to come back home and find his roots. Yes, there are a few Africans in the diaspora who have gone on the internet, who have paid DNA tests. Steve Wonder, Rita Mali, you know, Samuel L. Jackson, and they give us all these top celebrities, you know, Steve Harvey's, and etc. Those who have millions to spend, who can be able to pay some 3, 4, 5,000, 10,000 US dollars to get their history traced, their DNA traced to Africa. Then they come around to Africa and then they get to Ghana, get some nice little robe put around their necks. Oh, yes, welcome. The prince in exile, la-di-da, la-di-da. Oh, wow, it's beautiful. I'm not even worried about that, beautiful as it is. But what about the poor little boy living downtown Kingston, Jamaica, who does not have that kind of money? What about the boy in Barbados? What about the young little boy in Haiti and Tahiti? What about that little boy in St. Dominica Republic who does not even have $1,000 to connect? How do you think they will ever realize their history? So we've glorified this celebrity returning to Africa. But the real problem is not celebrities coming to Africa. It is just creating a direct contact between Africa and the Caribbean, so that it should be, if the colonialists at least wanted to become human, they should at least just allow the African that you've abused for 400 years, just allow the communication and interaction. And so the immigration laws that we have in the entire Caribbean are that you must not allow Africans to come into the Caribbean, because our coming into the Caribbean becomes the reawakening of the Caribbean to his indigenous African space. And I think this is the context where Jamaica finds itself. So I don't want even to start off the small pebble gameplay of me blaming the Jamaican government for refusing me a visa. I would have lost the bigger picture, because the problem that Jamaica gave me, if I should want to go to Barbados, or I want to go to Curacao, or I want to go to St. Lucia and etc., I will not face the same problem. It's the same problem, because the constitutions and the immigration laws are written by the same colonial people who say, don't make it easy for Africans to come here, because once they come into the Caribbean, their access into America is easier. So you have all these pockets in the Caribbean which are being controlled by the American government. to make sure that the Caribbean is not used as a route of Africans who want to get into Americas. I don't want to get to America. I have no interest in going to America. I have an interest in coming to the Caribbean and meeting my fellow brothers and sisters who are there. So yes, I was denied a visa to come into Jamaica, and they did not deny me the visa. The colonial system that the Jamaican government is running, which is designed not to make it easy for Africans to come into the Caribbean, is designed such people such as us will not have free access into the Caribbean, when the same people have full access into the African space. So yes, it's disappointing. It's sad. It is totally, I feel stabbed in the back. I was there literally less than 5-6 months ago in Jamaica, and we had a beautiful and wonderful time. And for whatever reason, the Jamaican government, I don't blame them, with the American influence, and then more requirements. You need this, you need that. They're the same people who say when your passport does not have more than 5 to 6 pages, we cannot give you a visa. So I submitted my passport, which only had 4 pages left. So I was told, no, you need a passport that has more pages. So I went to Zimbabwe to apply for a new passport. And I applied for the Jamaican visa from South Africa. When I brought the new passport in, oops, sorry, the details of the new passport and the old passport are not tallying. So, but it's your rules. You say on one hand, you cannot put a visa on an old passport, for crying out loud. I bring the new passport, then you tell me that the application of the passport does not marry with the new. Then you understand that these are just technicalities of dissonance and mischief. Because you are in control of the system, you can always manipulate it as and when the whims of your own intuition are leading you. So it's sad. I was very disappointed, to say the least, that while Bob Marley came to Zimbabwe with a full aeroplane of Jamaicans to celebrate our independence, and Robert Mugabe, in all his madness, would look for a Jamaican artist to come and become the prime celebrator of our independence. And I don't even want to ask what kind of paperwork, visas, or applications went in there. But we remember Bob Marley even wrote a song about the great Zimbabwe, which is there on your charts. You can Google and play the song before you sleep tonight. And these are the international relations that we want to develop between countries. And I'm coming from that space where I'm saying I want to return the favor to Jamaica. I want to go back also and contribute something toward the brothers and sisters, IRI, who have been kind to us. And then you get a slap on the face, and you're given a list of documents from here to Honolulu as to, you need this, you need a bank statement, you need we need your ID, it's fine, we need your passport, we need your residence, we need your previous this, we need and you look around and notice that the Jamaican government is not in control of its own narrative. And the same amount of paperwork they're requiring from me is what the Americans would require from me also. So it's rather disappointing. And don't put Jamaica on the witness stand. Put the whole Caribbean states into that witness stand, because the policies that they run were designed by the same colonialists.
Yes, indeed, we hear you on that. But, we want to send a message to the Jamaican people to put pressure on their government, to remove the visa requirements for Africans to come and visit the Caribbean or to come and visit Jamaica, because we want to build that bridge and take away anything that's going to stop that unification from happening. So what we do know is that if you have a Jamaican visa, I don't think you need a visa to go to Zimbabwe. And so, you know, that policy needs to be reciprocated. I don't know if it was Mugabe that put that policy in place or that initiated it. And if a British citizen wants to go to Jamaica, we don't need a visa. So any white European can leave anywhere in Europe, anywhere in Britain, leave Britain and go to Jamaica and don't even need a visa. But Africans, you know, who leave Africa need to get a visa to go to Jamaica. And so, you know, that needs to be addressed. It's definitely something that needs to be looked at in terms of reparations. Most definitely, in terms of reparations, we need to be removing the restrictions that get in the way of us coming together again as brothers and sisters across the pond. Because as you said, you know, before when we had the conversation, when they took us out of Africa and put us on the slave plantations in the Caribbean and the Americas, we didn't need a visa, did we?
And this for me, and by the way, off the record. No, let me make it off the record. Let me make it on record. If what the Jamaicans are requiring the Zimbabweans to do when we are coming to Jamaica, we can also influence our government here to put the same requirements when Jamaicans are coming here. It's easy. We are now we are not in power, but we are now in control. I can say it on record that we have capacity also to influence our governments here. That when Jamaicans are coming here, the same requirements that they want us to submit when we go to their countries, but then we will have fallen into the very same trap where they.
Oh, we don't
so
want that.
I hope you get the trend of my thought. So I don't even want to raise this with my government in Zimbabwe, where I can tell them what has happened to me. But I don't even care. I don't even care. They can say this piece of paper was missing. This piece of paper was missing. For crying out loud, who needs that piece of paper? When a European is coming into Africa, they just need their passport to come inside.
That's right.
So that's right. Where are we missing it? And to have, and by the way, I was with the government of Jamaica. They gave me access into the whole parliament of Jamaica. Yeah, I can even share some footage with you with the secretary in the parliament there. They gave me good access. I even signed the book in the Jamaican parliament and etc. I got a very warm welcome with the government there. But having said that, it looks like that information did not even filter to the other departments where you still find custodians of colonial legislative framework that inhibit the free movement of Africans between each other. For crying out loud, man, the distance between Jamaica and Africa, and for me, and by the way, to come there, I need 36 to 38 hours to cover a distance that can be covered in less than 9 hours. If there was a direct flight from Kingston to Harare, it would take me less than 7 to 8 hours. But no, all the flights from Africa must go via Amsterdam, Frankfurt, London, from London, New York, from New York, Kingston, or from New York, Cuba, Kingston, or from New York, Valancoulous, then or from New York, go to Peru, or from New York, or you go via Abu Dhabi, or you go via Dubai, or you go via Brazil, from Brazil, then Peru, then up. And you look at all this financial scheme where I must get to Dubai, I must get to Frankfurt, I must get to Amsterdam, I must get to London, spend a day there, spend some money, be vetted. And by the way, to get to London with a connecting flight, then you need a visa to get into London. So it's a well-orchestrated, planned strategy that just makes sure that for you to get to your brother The white man will vet, will make sure that do you deserve to meet your brother? So I cannot get to Brazil or to Jamaica without getting a Brazil visa, without getting a Peru visa, without getting a Schengen visa in Europe, without getting... So you have all these blockages, and our Caribbean governments seem to be naive. But listen to me, Shanice, listen to me and listen to me well. Imagine the value chain between Africa and the Caribbean. Once we remove the white men from the picture, imagine the children of the Caribbean studying in Africa. Imagine the children of Africa studying in the Caribbean. Right there, just let's organize weddings and ceremonies as our children are marrying each other. Imagine the tourism that opens between Africa and the Caribbean. Imagine the business transactions, mining, sharing of resources, food, fashion, and etc. Music exchanges, festivals, sports, and what. And the Caribbean, by the way, in the African Union, it's considered as the 13th state, which is the Caribbean, the diaspora. So by legislative framework, actually the Caribbean is considered as African. But who will start the process to materialize this ideology and make it practical? So this conversation we're having, I hope it will not just end with us on likes and etc. on YouTube, but it needs to reach every Caribbean president, every Caribbean parliamentarian, and say, you are in parliament, but what policies are you enforcing to make sure that the Caribbean can have direct access to the African resources, the African business, the African health system, cultural exchange and health systems, and we can begin to enjoy. They abused us through slavery. We are abusing ourselves through legislative and governance structures, which maintain the same colonial narrative, which has brought us into this mess. What must we do? Throw away the colonial narrative and begin to talk to each other, not at each other. And I feel the Jamaican government is not talking to me, is talking at me. We needed this, we needed that, we required that and that. You're not even aware who you're talking to. What kind of history are we building? And I don't think they even fully understood that I could blow this thing up from the water and put Jamaican immigration officers with all their names, but I don't have to embarrass anybody, because I know that they're in those positions, but they're not representing themselves. They're representing their masters. They are there as Uncle Toms to maintain the infrastructure and continue the colonial narrative. I'm sorry if that sounded too strong, but I think I am fully aware of the space in which we are working and the impact. And this is me. And unfortunately, because I have this international influence, I don't want to abuse that. But imagine someone who is not as privileged to be interviewed by an international station like yourself. They are just denied simply because you can't what? You can't what? You as a white man have freedom. I don't have the same freedom. So if you deny me freedom, I can also deny you freedom. If you give me freedom, I can also give you freedom.
Yes, they are very aware of the potential economic benefits, cultural benefits, and all the other benefits that you have spoken of that, you know, could be developed between Africa and the Caribbean. Hence why they put so many barriers in the way to stop us, you know, from getting together as a people. But what you're saying now, and I think everybody on this platform would agree, is that it's time for those governments to remove those colonial policies that are creating those barriers and getting in the way of our people coming together. And very importantly, we need flights. We need direct flights from the Caribbean to Africa. We need direct flights. Where are those airlines? I wish Ngozi had invested in, direct flights and airlines instead of the oil refinery that he spent billions actually building, that he now finds himself in a dire political situation over, between the Nigerian government and the oil Mongols and the rest. But yeah, come on, African billionaires, we need those direct flights. And come on, Jamaican government policymakers, we need you to remove the visa requirement for Africans to enter Jamaica. And we also need other Caribbean governments as well to be doing the same. This is a new day. We're talking about removing the barriers. We're talking about us coming together in oneness. We need to put the old days behind us. Can you believe, King Maponga, that, when our people in Jamaica used to go to school, they tell them that they weren't Africans? Can you believe that it's only in our generation, because of the extent of the miseducation, it's only now, because of access to information and enlightenment, that, we are a generation of people from the Caribbean who are aware of the fact that we are African our origin is in Africa. Can you believe that? Imagine a Chinese person not knowing that they were Chinese. I mean, this is the extent of the miseducation and misinformation. And so, we need all the barriers now to be removed.
And what you are saying, Shanice, just process what you are saying. When you say the Jamaican or the Caribbean government would perpetually incubate the falsification of information of the history of the African. Of what benefit are those lies?
But we have to remember it's through the colonial education system. So just like they've got those colonial policies that are managing immigration, they've got a colonial curriculum that they have in the schools out there that totally disconnected us with our African roots.
And yet that misinformation is financially viable, it's culturally viable, it's academically viable, that you can lie to a person, and by removing their historical connection, you can then manipulate them into what you want them to think, to do. And in fact, I will not be shocked to find out that the entire Jamaican immigration department is full of blacks.
With a white mind.
I will not even lie to you that the person who denied me the visa does not even know his roots or her roots. As where does she come from?
That's the truth. That's the sad truth. Yeah.
Okay, imagine I am your uncle. I'm your uncle. I want to visit your home, and you are the immigration officer, and you don't know who I am because you have been misinformed. Through the misinformation, they've been able to manipulate us and make us fight each other. That's the dangerous part. That you kill your own child, you kill your own brother because of misinformation. You will consider your brother to be an enemy, when in fact he is your brother. The enemy is the one who is telling you that this is your enemy. I'm not an enemy of Jamaica. I'm not an enemy of the Caribbean. I'm not an enemy of anyone who is black.
Yes, and they don't want us to get together because then the truth will be revealed. Let's go to the chats and just welcome the audience there. Sheriff S, it's good to have you in your house. You say, these demons really did a number on our parents and grandparents. They did, didn't they? They did. They really did misinform them and miseducate them. Sister Afrojama said 7 miles of Black Star liner coming in the harbor. Yes, rise up, Marcus Messiah Garvey, and make sure you get your free copy of the tribute book that I wrote in remembrance of Marcus Messiah Garvey. It is the Messiah month. Yes, August is the month of Messiah, because on the 17th of Messiah, Marcus Garvey was born. I think it would have been.
I think I must call him you say Marcus Garvey. Let's call him Marcus Mugabe.
Marcus Mugabe. Oh, Marcus Messiah Mugabe. We rise up the spirit of Mugabe as well. You know, I don't know if you saw that piece that Umar Johnson did when he was talking about the spirit of the Jamaicans, yeah? And he was linking the spirit of Jamaicans to the spirit of the Nigerians. And he was talking about the similarities there in terms of the revolutionary spirit, the confrontational spirit, etc. And how, you know, it is said that most of the Jamaicans are from the Ashantis, etc. in Ghana. But he was saying, you know, but the Ghanaian spirit is just so different from the Jamaican spirit. But what he didn't talk about was the revolutionary spirit of the Zimbabweans as well. And that was what connected Mugabe with the Jamaicans.
And while you're on that, what offends the British, and I want to isolate the British, is that Zimbabwe was not taught by the white men how to mine gold. We mined gold here as early as the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th century. We did business with India and China and the Phoenicians way back, way back. We mined it, we purified it. They didn't come here to collect raw gold. They came here to collect processed gold. Now, while that sounds very technical, let's break it down and get to the essence and say, okay, so you came to collect the gold, thumbs up. But did you stop for a second to say, how did a primitive people identify gold in the ground? Problem number one. Number two, how did they mine it? Problem number two. Number three, how did they process it, purify it? And by the time you came here, you found gold nuggets of processed gold. No one wants to talk about the technology, the chemicals, the organic chemicals that we use to mine that. And while you are still perplexed about that technology, you find a kingdom built with stones, no cement, no mortar, bricks cut to size. You don't know where the machines and the instruments they used to mine this. And because we were primitive, the colonialists came into our sites, excavated those sites, collected all the tools and information that was in those sites, moved them into their British museums. By the time they're writing the story of the great Zimbabwe, they are writing it as colonialists. And when they write that story, they don't glorify the technology. Instead, they doubt its authenticity with the Africans. And Zimbabwe was great Zimbabwe before Great Britain. You didn't hear me. I'll say that slowly. We are from the Southern Empire of Mwene Mutapa, which hosts more than 286 sites of Zimbabwe ruins or Zimbabwe Kingdom, the stone buildings, which are scattered from South Africa, Zimbabwe, Swaziland, Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, Mozambique, Malawi, Tanzania, and the greatest and the biggest of them all being the Great Zimbabwe. Do your Googling there and find out of the 5 or 6 kingdoms that were in Africa, inclusive to Benin, inclusive to Nigeria, inclusive to Carthadia, Abyssinia, the Waganda, the Monomotapa, and you would find that there were 5 to 6 empires, not kingdoms, that were ruling Africa. And the Great Zimbabwe is actually the kingdom of the South, of which my grandfathers, the great Monomotapa, the Changambires, are the rulers of the South. Are the rulers of the South. So we're not coming here with a weak history that has been colonized and whitewashed to say Zimbabwe was a kingdom. No, we're not a kingdom. We are the great Zimbabwe Empire. We are the Monomotapa Empire. We are the Changambire Empire, which governed and ruled the entire South. So even the governments that are in the entire South, from Tanzania to South Africa, need to give cognizance to the fact that the great Monomotapa Kingdom was an empire, to recognize in the South. And having to do that destroys the Berlin Conference agreement of countries dividing people by rivers through the Berlin Conference, which is the Congo Conference. So, and now, unfortunately, they took us to school. So we have studied from their own books, but we also have our oral tradition. And when we balance the two, there's a liar who is standing in the room, and that liar has a white face.
Yes, indeed. We've talked about family, the great kingdom of Zimbabwe, the empire of Zimbabwe, Monomotapa as well. Can I read a little piece that I read earlier today when we were talking about great Zimbabwe and Monomotapa? This is an eyewitness account of what someone saw and documented that they saw of the Monomotapa Empire. We talked about the mining, we talked about the refined works, etc. Take a listen to this, family. De Boras, in his Da Asia, gave the following description of the emperor of Monomotapa's palace. And, you know, that just so lines up, because he's not calling him a king, he's calling him an emperor, because he ruled over an empire. You know, he wasn't a king ruling over a kingdom. So he said of the emperor of Monomotapa's palace, the inside consists of a great variety of sumptuous apartments, tapestry, the manufacturer of the country. The floors, ceiling, beams, and rafters are all either gilt or plated with gold and curiously wrought, as are all the chairs of state, tables, benches, etc. The candlesticks and branches are made of ivory inlaid with gold and hang from the ceiling by chains of the same metal or silver gilt. The plates, dishes, and bowls belonging to the emperor's table are made of a sort of porcelain curiously wrought on the edges with springs of gold resembling those of coral. In short, so rich and magnificent is this palace that it may be said to vie with that which distinguishes a monarch of the East. And that is an eyewitness description of the chandeliers, the emperor's table, the chairs, the benches, and what they saw in the Monomotapa palace. So when you say that these people took, you know, all our gold and evidence of our history, the gold they probably melted down into those block bars that we see piled up, you know, in their reserves. And little do we know that, you know, the history, the craftsmanship, the work of those expert jewelry makers, etc., that went into, you know, the original works that they then smelted down into gold bars, you know, some of which, you know, they've kept in the museums, you know, that they go and look at, and their private collections and their private parties look at, you know, and they deliberately keep from us so that we don't know of our greatness and we don't begin to remember, you know, the great heights from which we have descended. Imagine that emperor's palace that they spoke about there. Imagine, so this is, this description gives us an indication, a little bit of an insight of what we were creating and making with some of that gold that was being mined. Wow. King Maponga. Do we learn about this in school? Have the people of Zimbabwe learned about the Monomatapa Empire?
Until the hunted write their story, in the words of Baldwin, until the hunted write their story, it will always be written in the eyes of the hunter. And I think this is offensive to the establishment, because that information you are talking about will only appear on the footnotes of some website somewhere, but will never make it to an academic curriculum where our children and you in diaspora will be able to look at our civilization in the 9th, 10th, 11th century and compare it with the Birmingham Palace. And say, when we were here in 11th century, where were you in 11th century? And again, we can't force the modern academic student who has spent 20 years being brainwashed to undermine, to despise Africans, because apparently when you read African history, you must just see people with big rings on their mouths and having big earrings with warthog teeth hanging on their necks, and this whole picture of Africans who are, dirty, uneducated. Every time you talk about Africa, you must show someone walking barefoot, women breasts outside, and who will tell you that we started doing spinning of cotton and making cloths in the mud cloths? Who will tell you about the cremation, where we're using bark tree, processing it and making it into blankets? Who will tell you of our skin technology, making clothes out of this? Who will tell you about the technology of cutting trees and identifying minerals, making bracelets, making all those beautiful ornaments that are now filled up in European museums? Who will tell you about our birth methods, sitting women on stools, and they will give birth to children naturally and with minimal birth pains? Who will tell you about our sciences of opening brains and doing brain surgery? Who will tell you about these sciences? And then until we begin to respect the African as the mother of knowledge, in this concept of nature, nurture, natur, nut, the gods of Egypt, where we understood that our relationship as human beings to nature, we are one together with, and that bond which forms our basis of spirituality and religion and function, to say you cannot say you are a human being when you are not in the participle mode of constantly and continuously participate, or new word for you, participally connected, continuously connected to everything that is in you with that which is around you. Who will teach our African children who they are until our generation will come up now and say, enough is enough? We have had enough of this colonial, intoxicated, one narrative story. We need now to say, open up the borders. And I have used this illustration in the past. I'll use it again on your station, where if someone should walk up in your house, Shanice, strong man, muscles, biceps,
big rifle, panga on the other hand, walks in your house, doesn't even walk into your house, he breaks the door in your house, kicks it to the other side, and the man rapes you in front of your children. And he does whatever he wants, slaughters one or two of your children. And then when he is done, he comes back a few days later and says, I want to help you to heal. I will be your therapist. I will assist you to deal with pain. Like, really? You want to teach me how to deal with pain? If you want to teach me how to deal with pain, can you allow me to do at least one of the things that you did to me? Bring your child here. Just bring me your child, or bring me your wife. Let me do at least a little bit of what you did to me, and so that me and you can be at least on at par, so that when you talk about pain, I will understand that you know what pain is like. This is where the African governments, both in diaspora and on mainland, find themselves, where we can allow the people that abused us to become the instruments of how we can heal as Africans. And when I talk like this, sometimes then the educated Black people, no, you are hurt. You know, you're angry, you have anger issues. You what? Because you've been so brainwashed that you now begin to idolize this very person that abused you. How, and when you see, by the way, in psychology, and I happen to have done psychology as part of my training in my academic institution, when you see an abused person begin to love their abuser, that's another level of mental and psychological trauma. It's even a deeper level where now you justify the acts of the abuser and blame yourself through religion because you're a sinner. God was using the white man to punish you because you were not obeying his laws. That's why God sent the white man to torture you so that you can turn back to God. And then the religion for me takes a totally different face, where our tolerance of evil, it's a subject to which we can even kneel down in prayer to pray and thank God that the abuser came to abuse me, to kill me, so that through the abuse, I can learn how to love God. This is too much for my brain to process. I feel like puking, honestly. How can such a God be proved to be loving? And how can we look at the colonialist as a savior of our wickedness? And when wickedness is performed on us, how do we pontificate that and glorify it as part of our salvation? I'm sorry, this could move me into a philosophical, highly esoteric space where I could put one statement that our abuse through education has dipped us further into the dungeon of tolerating abuse, hating justice and mercy.
You've asked some very pertinent questions there that all of us need to go away and think very seriously about, and you've given us such a vivid image there of what happened to us as a people, when the abusers came to our lands and what they did to us as a people, what they did to our children, what they did to our grandparents, what they did to the animals that we had, the tortures, the rape, the horrors, that happened. And then, as you say, now they come back and want to preach to us want to teach us, say they want to heal us, say they want to be, they want to teach us about their God and that we should worship their God. The God of the murderers, the genociders, the ones who raped and exploit and continue to rape and exploit and build weapons of mass destruction. We should worship their gods, and we do. And we pray to their gods ceaselessly. Our people, I don't think there's another set of people on this earth that pray more than Africans do. We pray morning, noon, and night, not realizing that the power lies within, and that they have fooled us and conned us into believing that the power lies outside of ourselves. So as you say, we are steep in mental bondage that they have put us in. And we've yet to somehow wake up to the realization that these people have used religion for political reasons. And that is, to capture our minds as a people. Wow. When will our people wake up? When will we wake up?
And while you are processing that, then you have a backlash of the Africans who are saying, let bygones be bygones. Let's just continue. The world is progressing. We are developing, but you forget that the problems of today are caused by the mistakes of the past, the injustices of the past, disenfranchised us of land and access to each other. By letting bygones be bygones, without visiting the historical spaces where the problem started. You see, you cannot move forward if you cannot fix the problem. So bygones be bygones, good statement. But in the bygones, that's where the land is. In the bygones, that's where laws are. In the bygones, that's where legislative, education, health systems, and policies are founded. Then how are we going to move forward unless this generation can go back to these policies and structures and challenge them and then be able to resolve them? Number two, in the midst of healing in psychology, it's one thing to bury hurt and refuse to deal with it because you want to move forward. But then there's something they say, there's a delayed reaction, a delayed trauma reaction, where if you bury the pain, because I've been told 1,000 times, stop talking about the past, stop moaning, stop whiling in it, stop talking about the past. We are here now, let's just move forward. Okay, it's fine. Your husband has died, your child has died. People come around you and say, don't cry, don't cry. Jesus is coming again, don't cry. No, someone has killed your child. No, don't cry. The Lord is in control. Beautiful, beautiful. Then you comfort me for those few days. And what you are not aware of is that we have suppressed a reaction, an emotional reaction. We have suppressed a spiritual reaction, which is now registered in my system. And the pain that I've not been able to air out, speak out, cry out, shout, and release that thing is now seated in my spirit. How does that begin to work then in my psychology, in my anatomy, in my mental structures, and etc., my mental health, and so you would understand that it is a temporal solution to a permanent problem. Because until we are able to speak about our past, and I want to emphasize that issues of slavery and colonialism must be spoken. And we, as the injured and the abused, must be able to walk in a group of fellow abused people and say, what's your problem, young lady? I was raped. Boom. What happened? No, it was this one. He was an uncle, he was a brother, he was this, he was a neighbor, he was this, and this. And you can go through the process, break down if you must break down, cry if you must cry, be angry if you must be angry, and slowly the process of healing would begin to take place because you are removing this debris which is lying down in the bottom of your spirit. So these educated blacks also, who think that psychologically they are ready to deal with abuse without addressing the cause of the abuse, facing up. I mean, the day you are really strong after you've gone through therapy is the day when you come face to face with your abuser. And in my courtroom, where I am a king, I will not put a bodyguard between you and your abuser. I would allow you to face him with everything that you have. My die down, Sister Shanice. You may want to send me the link on the other phone in case it snaps. I can plug into the other phone. Then, in the midst of that expression, you are also, as part of your healing, begin to meet up, face up, express. And the one who has abused you must be able to take that. You come to me, Shanice, and you slap me on the face. You have no right after that to tell me how I must respond to the slap you gave me on your face. If I come with a panga, or I come with a gun, or I come up with a fist, or I take a pot of hot porridge and I pour it on your face, that's my expression. But unfortunately, the anger of the African is being managed by religion, being managed by legislative framework. You can't express yourself like that. It's uncivilized, as if what they did was civilized. This is where my brain almost reaches that space of, I almost feel like I'm losing my head. Because you were free to do what you wanted to do. And no one stopped you. You were free to take me as a slave, ramp me up in a ship. You were free to rape me on the deck. You were free to kill me and feed me to the sharks. You were free to put me on a field and use me for 24 hours nonstop. You were free for 400 years. Freedom to you. And you will not allow me one day of expressing my freedom to you also.
Wow. And those of us in the West know that these people never forget their fallen ones. They remember their fallen ones. Those who fell in World War I, don't you tell them not to remember them. Those who fell in World War II, you can't tell them not to remember them. You know, recently there was an incident in the UK where 3 young white children lost their lives. The word went out that it was a Muslim person that had carried out the murder. Oh, half of Britain's white men and community came out and wanted to attack every Muslim, every black person that they saw in the streets. They're about retribution. They're about payback. They never forget. Look at Haiti. Look at the abuse that Haiti continues to suffer because, you know, they dared to beat the Europeans in a war that they had waged, the Europeans had waged against them in Haiti. Haiti continues to be the victims until today of abuse by the Americans and the European nations. So there's double standards there. Double standards. Let me just check that our family is still following us, beloved, in the chat. Let's see what we've got here. First time welcome says, may I ask about reparations? Once you receive financial reparations, who will spend your capitalist money? Just asking. No one can fully explain how money would fix our problem. Can money fix our problems? I think I know the answer to that, but let's hear what our King Joshua Maponga has to say. Okay, I think I've got, oops, we've just lost King Maponga there. I think we've got him on the line twice. iNation, I can see you're in the house. I've just noticed you're in the house. If you want to jump in, take yourself off mute and off video, and then you'll be able to join us. We have iNation in the background there, King Maponga. Welcome, iNation. How are you? Welcome from Down, Jamaica.
Yeah, give thanks, Rastafari. Can you hear us?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear. And we have King Maponga back with us. King, we have iNation in the house.
That's fine.
Oh, greetings, man. How are you, my brother?
That's right. Get up, Uncle. Rastafari.
I want to publicly share my deepest apology for the inconvenience. I'm terribly, terribly sorry. It was way beyond. I left my office to handle lots of the things, and I went to the embassy 3-4 times. I was told everything is fine. I've submitted everything, only to get a reply from them post the event itself. They still have my passport to date. I don't have my passport, and it's still in the Home Affairs there. And I'm very sorry. You can share this apology publicly with your audience. It was beyond my control, and I'm sorry. I want to put that on record.
You were greatly missed, because many ones came to the event asking for you. You know, many ones asking for you at the event. It was a great sadness not having you there, you know, because the wealth and knowledge you have to offer, was really looking forward for them to receive it, you know. But it's a sad situation, and I know it's out of your control, you know. So, but it's also a learning lesson too, and it's just you have to use it as a to rise up, you know. Yeah, and just do some more proactive work to break down the isms and schisms that keep us apart, you know. All these colonial things and neo-colonial isms and schisms, you know. Yeah, because really and truly, we shouldn't need no visa, you know. We should even have direct flights.
That's
right. Know? Yeah, we shouldn't even have to go through America, or, you know, hold for transit too much a different country. You know, Jamaica, particularly than even any other Caribbean country or Western country, should have a direct flight to Africa, to continental Africa. You Absolutely. Know, being the intimate bond with Jamaica and the continent itself. You know, a direct flight is long overdue, whether it come from the government or rich black people. You know, because if Garvey was able to have 3 ships over 100 years ago, you know, so why we have so much rich billionaire or millionaire black persons, or we don't have a direct flight, or we don't have an African airline that is having us a Pan-African airline, not just a regular neo-colonial minded airline, capitalist minded airline, but a Pan-African minded airline, you know? Yeah, direct flight. So these are the things that is vitally needed, and we can just use this to just build a momentum around that awakening and that consciousness, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. iNation, thank you so much for joining us. You're from the African World Revolution. I wonder if you want to tell us a little bit.
And by the way, he is the one who had invited me for the function in Jamaica. Right. They paid money, they paid the tickets, they did everything. So I feel very bad, and that the Jamaican government would not
even out of your control. You know, it was not just control. Yes, but iNation, we want to big you up. Let's give you a few moments to tell us a little bit about the works that you're doing in Jamaica there.
It's about the awakening the African mind and reclaiming the African mind. So we are the mobile book merchant, you know, we travel all over the island, you know, with the conscious Pan-African literature, you know, make it really available to the ones who recognize the need for it, you know. So that's basically us and the works that we do. And we was exposed to the king through the social media. You know, we say, whoa, the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of empowerment. And we say, yeah. And when we found out that he was coming here in February, we was anxiously excited. you know, but sadly the event he attended in February was kind of like an exclusive event. So he wasn't exposed to a wide audience. You know, it was very sad for me. Because sitting there listening to him for like 3 hours, I tell him I feel like Africa is enough. I remember when like the speech His Majesty make about African spirituality and all African need is within Africa. It's like listening to him that does I feel that fire. So we don't need to look outside ourselves. Everything we need, we have all the wealth of knowledge to move forward as a triumphant people. You know, I mean, I say, yo, whatever I can do, I will do it to make sure this virgin reach back to Jamaica and speak to a wider audience. So it's from that inspiration and, you know, me just make the move and reach out to him and accept the invitation, you know, and everyone was looking forward. We never expect, you know, we'd have this hiccup of him coming here, you know. So it's a great sadness, but it's also a learning experience, you know, because, yeah, we reach out to once Sister Taliba readily offer her space to accommodate him, you know. Other ones jump on board, you know, and assist the way they can. You know, the whole Firisintin staff was ready to welcome of him, you know. So it's like it's sad, but as I said, it's a learning experience and the works continue, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely. And rise up yourself, our nation, you know, for the initiative. But, you know, it never happened yesterday, but it's going to happen tomorrow. And even when I was speaking with the sisters, King Maponga, they were saying, maybe we need to do an online event. They was lining up visits to universities with this one, that one. We said, why not bring it all together on and organize an online event? So our nation, King Maponga, maybe something for you both to reflect on and for us to help support to make that happen. Because
yeah,
yes, our king needs to reach the ears of our people in Jamaica. Definitely.
Yeah. The online good, but nothing beat the in-person, you know? Yeah, nothing beat the in-person. So we definitely want the king to come forward. So whatever need to be done, you know, we need to reach out to the consulate, the immigration people, government-wise, yeah. We need to resolve this because they give him until a year before he can apply again. And, you know, so we'd love them to overrule that and allow him to reach here within the year. So even the ticket that we have, it's still valid within a year. Have to pay some fees, but it's better than to buy a brand new ticket, you know. But if it go over the year, then we are going to have to buy the whole new brand new ticket, which is, you know, it's a lump sum. So we love if them can resolve it, that them can come within the year, you know. Yeah.
And while we are on that, if there is any country that Jamaica can become friends with, is Zimbabwe, for many, many reasons. That if Jamaica would have 15, 20, or 54 countries that they wanted to establish a relationship with, I think from the legacy that Bob Marley left in Zimbabwe, and the understanding, the bridge between the two countries, I think Zimbabwe should be featuring on the top 2 or top 3 countries that Jamaica should actually say, you don't need a visa to come to. How can I have a free visa to go to Dubai? How can I have a free visa to go to Kazakhstan? How can I have a free visa to go to Japan or Singapore or Vietnam? A country that we don't even have a relationship. The Indians, the Japanese would think that an African is a good friend to them than a Jamaican. Then I think I don't know who I am. I don't know who we are. Because this is where relationships begin to bond together. And I would want to challenge the Jamaican government and say, in the midst of your immigration laws and everything else, put some exceptions. You are a sovereign country if ever you're a country. You are a sovereign country if ever you're a republican. But if you have any power in you as a country, stop taking instructions from Britain and America. Start making some certain decisions. Know your friends, know your relatives, and give exceptions. I could have a wedding. There are some people that when I hear that my aunt, my father's sister is at the gate and she does not have an invitation card, but I'm speaking from an African context, that I would tell the person at the gate, come on, let them in. Let them in. It can't get better than that. It can't get better than that, that you need to identify who your friends are and who your enemies are. And I think it's time for the Caribbean to begin to consider in a legislative and immigration space to say who are our friends and who are our enemies? What are the benefits between Jamaica and Zimbabwe? What are the academic, what are the mineral business? What are the resource? And what is it that we can share together and to build on the legacy that Bob Marley and the greater vision that Marcus Garvey had for all of us. But I thank you very much for understanding, for iNations, for giving me an opportunity. We will push for the next 12 months, and we will not stop until that visa is granted. I don't even want a visa anymore. I want everybody else in Zimbabwe to have a free access into Jamaica, and vis-a-vis also that the Jamaicans who want to come to Africa, particularly Zimbabwe, can have a free access.
Absolutely. We'll put it down as an oversight on the part of immigration and the government to have not already agreed to this time ago, but I think, yes, we need to raise it so that this is something that they do consider in Parliament and agree to, because I believe it's the same the other way around. When I was organising trips to Zimbabwe, some of the brethren that came with us on the trip then just left the British passport and come with the Jamaican passport, but they never need no visa. So the same needs to be reciprocated. We need to build those bridges with our brothers and sisters, as our beloved King has said,
We respect you. If I can speak as a patriotic African, we respect you, but you don't respect us.
I think the people do, but the government, other government, not the people.
But you can hear what I'm saying. We honor you, but you don't honor us. We give you access, but you don't give us access. So that reciprocating thing, I think, must be mutual. And there's benefit for all of us right there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So iNation, I know you're going to continue doing the works, you reach out to our beloved King Maponga. As you heard, he's there ready and waiting to speak to the people, and it's going to happen. We're going to continue to put the pressure, and I think this has highlighted the need now for Jamaica to remove the barrier of the visa for people from not just Zimbabwe, but the whole continent. Can you imagine that?
And Sister Shanice, let me speak to the Jamaican government. Let me speak to them directly, that you as a Jamaican government, you can pioneer. You can pioneer. Be the head of the group. Do that unfamiliar, do that irregular, do that uncomfortable. Make that decision. Lead the pack. And Jamaica has a strong sense of connectivity, strong sense of identity. It can't just remain as a strong sense of identity unless and until we begin to translate that into active programs, initiatives that break down that barrier. So Jamaican government, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity of leading as you have always done. I hope you just don't celebrate Bolt becoming the fastest runner in the world. I hope that you can also become the fastest runner in immigration, the fastest runner in connecting Africans with Africa. I hope you can have that bold spirit and run ahead of the whole pack and be the champions of this great initiative.
Ashe. Ashe. Let's make sure that this gets to the government in Jamaica and that they will indeed become the pioneers, in terms of opening their doors to our family on the continent of Africa. We've talked earlier about all of the potential benefits that come with that, the cultural benefits, the economic benefits, the sharing of expertise and knowledge. Jamaica is so small, there's nowhere left for the people them to farm. And yet in Zimbabwe, there's so much land there waiting to be farmed, Just imagine some of those small-time farmers in Jamaica getting access to land in Zimbabwe that they can farm them yam and them coca and them chocha and them plant them woolly trees and everything. Oh my days, we're just, there's so much, even just from the green agricultural benefits that can be reaped in the terms of the knowledge and the sharing. And then very importantly, when our people go back, woo, and get in touch with the essence of who they are and who they were, and get in touch with the spiritual side of them. Wow. When they go to some of the sacred sites and reconnect, feel their DNA just reconnecting with their ancestors. Wow. Family, we are 4 minutes away from the top of the hour. We have had the pleasure of talking with our beloved King Maponga for almost 2 hours now. And then we've recently been joined by iNation. What a wonderful, wonderful reasoning and discussion we've been having. And I've seen all the thumbs up, the fires and everything in the chat. Want to rise up, brother Mahogany in the house as well. Sister Betty in the house, rising you all up. Kwame Aboje and Sister Afrijamo still with us. Brother Andrew Sr. in the house from South Africa. He says South Africa's doing flights to Australia. Why doesn't Jamaica Tourist Board not reach out? Okay, so Brother Andrew is saying that the Jamaican Tourist Board need to reach out to get those direct flights to start happening. Betty's saying visa free for all Africans, home and abroad. Yes, indeed. First time saying I'm here. This is all our conversations about our struggle. We have to talk about our struggles until we resolve them, and then we can move on. Afrijamo saying the Black Star Airlines. The Black Star Airlines. I like that one indeed. Come on, Garveyites. Come on, Garveyites. Let's go over to our special guest, King Maponga, who we are so grateful to have had in our company this evening, to leave us with some closing words, please.
No, thank you very much. My battery is about to die on me. So thank you very much to you and your listeners out there. And I'm not negative. Something good will come out of this. And I hope in the true spirit of African development and in the true spirit of reconciliation, there should be something good that can come out of this problem. And what could have been a blockage on my part to coming to Jamaica, I hope it can birth itself into the greater immigration discussion, which will result in a visa-free Jamaica to Africa, a visa-free Africa to Jamaica, the establishment of businesses between Caribbean and Africa, educational institutions beginning to merit themselves, our children coming together, sharing health, medical, technology, sharing land, sharing resources, minerals, iron ore, chrome, platinum, uranium for your power stations. We're looking at tourism, cultural tourism, spiritual tourism, earthing, grounding. There is so much the Caribbean can benefit from Africa than what they're benefiting from America and Britain and Europe right now. So I'm very positive that out of this conversation, and I hope whoever will be listening to this will carry it with the spirit that is in my heart, that yes, I'm disappointed, but by no means am I stepping down from the war. The battle is not with you as the government of Jamaica. The battle is with your institutions that are maintaining the colonial footprints. And the quicker we resolve those issues, the better the business of both countries can be. And both in the manufacturing, in the recycling, in the food industries, in the power exchange, you Caribbean can benefit more from Africa than it is benefiting from Europe and America. I thank you.
Thank you so, so much. In Jamaica, we say everything for a reason. They thought, you know, refusing you access was going to deny you accessing our people. But what it has actually done instead is actually spearheaded a campaign now to remove the visa between Africa and the Caribbean. Malloy is saying we need to have full visa-free access to St. Kitts, and Nevis to all African Alkebulan country. Let's break down the borders. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Rise up the Jamaican drunker in the house. He's saying the Black Star Airlines as well. Taliban in the house saying my space is still open to King Maponga. We want to rise up everybody who's in the house. Melok, thank you so much for your greetings all the way from St. Kitts and Nevis. Let's continue the conversation and let's continue to raise the issue in the parliaments on the Caribbean islands, and let's get our politicians having a discussion about removing the visas between Jamaica and the other Caribbean islands and Africa. Let's be one. King Maponga just outlined the huge potential benefits. We don't want to be missing out on that, and we don't want the next generation to miss out on it either. To all those of you in the audience who have been following me, thank you so much. Please do continue the conversations in your organizations, institutions, in your workplaces. Let's put on the pressure to get the visa restrictions between the Caribbean and Africa removed. Free visa, same way the Europeans can come freely to Africa, and the Caribbean, same way the Africans need to be able to travel freely to the Caribbean and vice versa. More love, more strength. Sister Shanice out of here for now. Thank you. In the absence of King Maponga, we thank you again. Thank you, family. Thanks for sharing. If you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe, and also hit the like button before you leave. Thank you so, so much. See you same time next Wednesday, next Ujama Day. Sister Shanice out of here for now.